you've been putting out a series of reports which today the Attorney General seemed to suggest in court were based on stolen documents. And he wanted an inquiry and investigation under the Official Secrets Act. Your response to what you heard today in the court?
Rajdeep, we have not stolen any documents. And we've heard this story about stolen documents before. You heard it when the Pentagon Papers were leaked to the New York Times and the Washington Post. We heard it on Watergate. We heard it more recently when the WikiLeaks material was published by the New York Times, the Guardian, number of papers, and also the Hindu, so far as the US Embassy cables relating to India and Pakistan were concerned. So you heard this before. That's the standard position taken by many governments. We didn't steal them. We didn't pay for these documents. And I don't want to comment on the proceedings in the Supreme Court because I wasn't there. I don't know all that was said. But our stand is very clear. We published these documents in the public interest. We did not pay for them. We believe that this information should have been made public, put in the public realm by the government. We certainly believe it should have been shared with Parliament. We believe it should have been submitted to the Supreme Court. It was not. Much of this information was not available anywhere else except in the columns of the Hindu. And I must mention, in all fairness, some others also put out new information. For example, the Caravan, Wire, Scroll, and various others. They also had a role, but the major revelations, I think, even if I say so, came from the Hindu, and I did those stories. We are fully protected under Article 19(1)(a) of the Indian Constitution, the freedom of speech and expression, the fundamental right of freedom of speech and expression, and also under the Right to Information Act, specifically 8(1)(i) and 8(2), which in fact override the obnoxious Official Secrets Act of 1923, which is a legacy from, as everyone knows, all journalists know, from the British Raj to protect its own interests. There's been a debate. There was a debate in the Constituent Assembly. There's been much written on this subject. The editor, we have all demanded the repeal of the Official Secrets Act, and it's very rare. It's been very rarely used in independent India against those who publish material. It's another matter when you're talking about espionage and so on. That's nothing to do with this. This information was.
How do you then respond? How do you then see what? How do you then, I know you say you are not present in the court, but how do you see how the Attorney General responded to this entire issue today in court? He virtually seemed to suggest that this was against the national interest, that putting out these secret documents, as he called it, was compromising national security. Do you believe this is an attempt to intimidate the media from publishing more details, or do you believe this is a sign that the government has something to hide? How do you interpret what happened today in the court?
Yeah, I think if this goes uncontested, then it will certainly send a message to the media that thou shalt not publish anything like this again, and that will have a chilling effect. It will be in effect, it will be intimidating, and I hope that, of course, it will be contested, and even the Supreme Court, as what I saw on television or read about, was the judges ask questions about documents, even if they had been dubiously secured. That is the sense of one of the questions as it was reported. If it leads to somebody innocent being framed and the innocent person gets hold of this information, can the court not look into it? That's one of the questions that seems to be raised in the Supreme Court. So I think we should contest this. We should oppose this. And it's not aimed just at the Hindu. I think the idea is to send a message.
Right.
Whether it was just said in the heat of the moment or represents government policy, we shall wait and see. Because so far, to be fair to the powers that be, we have not faced any direct pressure. We know they may not like it. You know that from the social media and some of the statements made by ministers. But nobody has called me and said, you shouldn't publish this or let alone hold threats and so on. So we don't know yet what the standing of what went on in the Supreme Court is. But certainly, I would vigorously and robustly contest the charge that we participated in any stealth, any stolen publishing any stolen goods. We did not pay. I can also make it very clear, we did not pay for this information. That's done in some other countries in the UK, US, and so on. We didn't pay anything. It was voluntarily given in the public interest. And so we are not really worried about this.